There are many interesting and different business offers for people willing to save and increase their capital. Bank deposits, investment funds, exchange products, securities, and many other things. But everyone knows that, as a rule, the most attractive way of preservation and increasing the capital is the investment in your own business. Today, we will tell you about a perfect and quite simple opportunity of creating your own business with the help of the Taunigma Company in one of the most attractive regions of the world, the United Arab Emirates. The senior management of the Taunigma Company has outlined 4 main objectives. The first one is to create the largest network of payment terminals providing the maximum set of services in the United Arabian Emirates. The potential market size is estimated by specialists of the company not less than at 10,000s of kiosks and not less than 50,000s of POS terminals. The second task is that the owners of these kiosks and POS terminals have to gain high income from their operation. The third task is that it's necessary to take part in the development of the electronic commerce market in the Persian Gulf states in order to expand a range of services provided via payment terminals, and to carry out the fourth task, to prepare the base for further duplication of the business to other countries. The main goal of the company is to reach such a level of profitability from each payment terminal that it would not only exceed different ways of preservation and increasing capital funds much more, but also would allow the owners of the terminals to have a simple and clear way of achieving their financial independence. Before starting the business in the United Arab Emirates, the Taunigma Company specialists conducted a research as for the potential market of the country. Here are the conclusions which have been made. A. There are constantly more than 8 million people in the country. The majority of them prefer to pay by cash. B. Despite serious development of trading and service companies, there are practically no payment terminals on the territory of the United Arab Emirates. And even those small networks, which are available in the country, serve only own services of their owner, for example, networks of communication operators, or are in the very early stage of developing and have no high popularity among the population. C. Lack of any internal taxes in the country allows increasing profitability of payment terminal services. After all, it's not a secret for anybody that in other countries, tax expenses for the business connected with payment terminals can be 50% and even more. D. Consumers in the United Arab Emirates perceive new services with a great interest, and determination of the Emirates to become a region leader in the process of implementation of modern technologies provides favorable conditions for running new businesses connected with information technologies and electronic commerce. E. One of the most motivating reasons for developing this kind of business in the United Arab Emirates is the problem of frequent cases of long hours queues in banks and payment delivery points of the service providers. While conducting the research of the country market, the analysis of similar services was carried out. As it appeared, the most part of payments is carried out through own networks of the service providers. Generally, it is cash desks at their offices or the payment terminals located in the same place. Some service providers provide their own POS terminals in rent via which it is possible to get electronic vouchers of account replenishment. So, for example, the Etisalat and Du companies do. And for each service, a separate terminal is used, and therefore many businessmen allow paying a service only of one company enlisted. Thus, for prevailing number of payment terminals in the Emirates, mono-service is typical. Other traditional method of payment is through banks, both through cash desks and via ATMs, or exchange services. In the Emirates, the bank infrastructure is well developed, but it still doesn't satisfy all the demands of the population in this service. Not so long ago, private networks of payment terminals started developing in the United Arab Emirates. Today, there are some companies operating in the market. The total amount of installed terminals on the territory of the whole country, including the owned terminals of the service providers and private terminal networks, isn't more than 700 units. Thus, it is possible to talk about practical undevelopment of the market and a big prospect for the Taunigma Company, the experts of which have great experience of work with similar products in other countries. To provide everybody willing with the opportunity to create his or her own business, the Taunigma Company has developed an original franchising model. Today, any businessman can start his own business in the Emirates, having purchased one of the franchises and having started receiving the income from its operating, rendering to the population payment delivery service. But if the businessman doesn't plan to be constantly on the territory of the Emirates, he can transfer this franchise under the contract of trust management to our company that possess all the necessary infrastructure for running the business of payment delivery. This is the kind of business we suggest to everybody willing to create in the United Arab Emirates, regardless of the country you live in. Every franchise is focused on its own market segment, namely A. The franchise Taunigma POS, the basis of which is the mobile POS terminal, can be established in small shops which are located all over the country in a large number. It can also be established in the typing and copy centers. The small size of this payment terminal and its mobility is an ideal decision for direct sales representatives and professionals in this sphere. These payment terminals can be established even in a taxi. B. The franchise Taunigma Kiosk, the basis of which is the stationary terminal of self-service, will be established in crowded places with a lot of potential clients, for example, in market malls and hypermarkets, at gas stations and in public institutions, in post offices, and even at public transport stops. On the basis of the carried-out analysis of the United Arab Emirates market, the specialists of the Taunigma Company have made a 5-year business plan, the part of which will be presented now. Before talking about the plan of this presentation, we wish to present some financial data which were calculated according to the specified business plan. We expect that the annual profitability for the owners of the Taunigma POS franchise will comprise not less than 30%, and as for the Taunigma Kiosk franchise, we expect profitability from it starting from 18 to 24% during the first year and from 55% and more in the second and the next years. All specified figures will be supported with calculations which will be shown within this presentation. The income of the owner of the Taunigma POS franchise, who has transferred it to our company under the contract of the trust management, will comprise 70% from the sum of the received money for the rent of the franchise to the third parties. The rent cost of one terminal is equal to 100 Arab dirham, or a little more than $27 a month. The owner of the franchise will receive from this sum 70 dirham, or a little more than $19. Thus, the revenue will be more than $228 that exceeds 30% from the franchise cost. The signed contract is termless. The owner of the franchise can terminate it and take away the terminal, which belongs to him or her for its subsequent independent operating, or transfer to the third party at any time. For the calculation of the expected profitability from the management of the Taunigma Kiosk franchises, 3 versions of the financial plan were thought out: pessimistic, optimistic, and the average one, which is predicted. Their difference consists in different indicators of the expected profitability from the accepted payments, average monthly volume of transactions, and the additional income, such as the sale of advertising space on the second monitor. It should be mentioned that the income of the owner of the Taunigma Kiosk franchise, who has transferred it under the contract of the trust management, will make 50% from the general profit of the franchise, which is calculated according to a simple formula. The profit is equal to the sum of all the incomes minus the sum of all the expenses. Incomes can include a commission received from the service providers, the additional commission the client is charged with, and the income from leasing advertising space on the payment terminal. Expenses include a rent for kiosk placements and depreciation charges. As a rule, the sum of the expenses is fixed within a year. Monthly rent comprises about $200. Monthly contribution to the sinking fund is about $60. At first, let's consider the pessimistic financial plan. For its calculation, the following introduction data were defined. The expected average size of a commission is 2%. The expected income from the sale of the advertising space on the second monitor is $150. The average sum of one payment comprises 100 dirham. The additional commission taken from the client is 1 dirham for each payment. The purpose is to achieve the monthly volume of 1,000 transactions by the 16th month of the franchise operation. All financial calculations are made in the Arab dirham. On the screen, you can see the planned financial schedule arranged according to the months. Let's consider the first year of the franchise operation. It is supposed that the kiosk, which is included into the franchise, will be established at the point of sale in 3 months after the franchise sale. We expect that in the first month of the franchise operation, not less than 100 payments will be registered, and in the next months, the growth of number of the accepted payments will be observed due to the internal marketing actions made by the staff of the managing company. You can pay attention that the 4th and 5th months from the moment of the franchise purchase won't be profitable due to the low level of the income in comparison with the fixed expenses. But for the 6th month, it is possible to expect revenues excess in comparison with the expenses, and by the 8th month, the accumulative financial result, taking into account all previous months, will become positive. As a result, by the end of the first year, the expected profit from the franchise operation will make over 9,500 dirham, the half of which will be received exactly by the owner of the franchise, and it will provide 18 to 20% of the revenue corresponding to the franchise cost. The second year, according to our forecasts, will become more profitable due to the internal marketing actions carried out during the previous year. The second year of the franchise operation will be marked by determination to achieve the main purpose: 1,000 delivered payments a month and 90% loading of the advertising space of the second monitor. Thus, for the second year, the income of the franchise owner can comprise more than 14,000 dirham that will provide annual profitability from 54 to 60%. The third year of the franchise operation is the year of stability of the number of delivered payments. But even here, we presuppose some kind of fluctuation in incomes received from the sale of the advertising space. Following the results of the third year, we expect that the owner of the franchise will earn over 15,000 dirham that will comprise from 56 to 62% of profitability. The fourth year of franchise operating can provide additional inflow of clients on the basis of range expansion of the provided services. Therefore, we assume a 10% gain of the number of accepted payments that will provide profit to the franchise owner of about 17,000 dirham, or from 62 to 69% a year, according to the results of this year. And finally, the fifth year, according to our forecasts, will provide to the owner over 18,000 dirham of annual profit that will make approximately 69 to 77% of profitability. Certainly, there are no such stable financial results in reality, and the specified figures aren't the fixed constant, and in real life, everything will be less linearly. But these calculations perfectly reflect our plans as for the business development for the next 5 years. The approximate sum of the income, which the owner of the franchise Taunigma Kiosk can receive in 5 years, will make about $19,000, even according to the most pessimistic forecasts. On the contrary, we made calculations as for what it would be if the business development goes according to a more optimistic plan. For this purpose, we have made little changes with the initial calculations. Namely, we expect receiving from the service providers the 4% reward from each delivered payment that will remove the necessity to charge the client with the additional commission. We expect that the monthly income from the sale of the advertising space will comprise about $250. It is supposed that the average sum of one payment will be 150 Arab dirham. Thus, we will seek to reach 1,000 delivered payments a month by the 12th month of the franchise operating, and 1,500 delivered payments per month by the 24th month. We also expect that the franchise will be established at the point of sale during the second month after its sale. And as we can see from the schedule diagram for the first year, the franchise will have started bringing profit approximately by the 4th month. And according to the results of the year, the franchise owner can get more than 15,000 dirham that will make from 57 to 63% a year. Pay attention once more. All these figures are approximate, expected but not guaranteed. All the calculations are made on the basis of simple mathematical formulas, and each of you can recheck its correctness independently. Relying on the rules of mathematics and having a little business imagination as for the numbers of the delivered payments and the solid advertising space, the second year of business development, according to the optimistic plan, can give to the franchise owner the income of about 45,000 dirham that comprises from 166 to 184% a year. The further, the more. The third year will make about 200% a year from the franchise cost. The fourth year will be even more profitable, more than 53,000 dirham a year. The fifth year isn't an exception. The same 200% of annual profitability, or over 14,000 US dollars a year. It is quite possible that some of the franchises transferred to us under the contract of trust management will give such a level of profitability that we showed in the optimistic version of the financial plan. But the main objective of these calculations was to demonstrate the dependence of the profitability level on the reward rate earned from the service supplier and on the dynamics of the increasing number of the delivered payments. Only 4% is the average amount of a commission reward, in comparison with 2% in the pessimistic plan. Just 1.5 increase of the number of the delivered monthly payments, 1,500, in comparison with 1,000 monthly payments according to the pessimistic plan. And such a great difference as a result. And it's not fantastic, but one of the possible true-to-life versions of the business development. But let's be a bit more realistic and let's consider the average predicted financial plan based on middle indicators from the pessimistic and optimistic forecast. Calculations were made according to the supposition that the average percent of the reward will make 3%. The average sum of one payment will make the 125th dirham. The purpose: 1,000 transactions a month by the 14th month of the kiosk work, with the growth of 1,200 transactions by the 24th month and 1,500 transactions by the 60th month of the kiosk work. We plan to sell the advertising space for $200 a month. The calendar schedule presupposes that the kiosk will be established during the second month after its sale, but the direct payment delivery will start from the third month. And in the same way, we expect the gradual growth of the number of the delivered payments from 100 transactions at the beginning to 900 by the 12th month. Thus, we exclude charging the clients with the additional commission, and we expect by the end of the first year only 50% loading of the advertising space by the end of the first year. As a result, it is expected that for the 5th month, the kiosk income will exceed expenses, and for the 8th month, the accumulative financial result will be positive. According to the results of the first year, the financial income from one franchise can make over 11,000 dirham, and it means that the profit of the franchise owner will be more than 5,000 dirham, or 21 to 24% of the annual profitability. The amount of the delivered payments will continue to grow during the second year, and we expect that their number will increase from 900 to 1,200 transactions. Besides, there is a supposition that we will be able to load the whole advertising space by the middle of this year. Thus, taking into account all income and expenses, the franchise owner can get profit over 21,000 dirham that will comprise 81 to 90% of the annual interest rate. And it is already the second year. The third year can be rather stable from the point of view of the number of the delivered payments, and as a result can provide the profit of over 25,000 dirham, or from 96 to 107 of the annual interest rate. What concerns the fourth year, we included into our calculations a special fluctuation indicator of the number of the delivered transactions, which can be from 1,200 to 1,300 operations a month. Thus, we will be able to provide profit to the franchise owner of over 27,000 dirham that corresponds to 100 to 111% of the revenue of the franchise cost. The fifth year of the predicted financial plan can give the increase of 1,500 transactions a month that, according to the results, will provide the franchise owner with a profit of over 29,000 dirham, or 108 to 120% of the revenue. Thus, in the case of the franchise development according to the average financial plan, thanks to the lack of taxes in the United Arab Emirates, and also to the held market events aimed at increasing the delivered payments number, it is possible to expect that in 5 years of the franchise operating, its owner can get profit of about $30,000. And besides all this time, the franchise remains the property of its owner. Today we presented you our calculations from the business plan, which describes the payment delivery business development in the United Arab Emirates. There are 3 variants of possible development. The accurate language of figures shows simple and clear results. Certainly, financial results from one franchise managing won't repeat in a perfectly same way in the second, the third, and the subsequent objects. But this financial plan simply establishes the fact of the made calculations, which nowadays are the basis for the senior management of the Taunigma Company to plan a long-term business development in the Emirates. Probably, there will be franchises the rent cost of which will be more than $200 a month, but the number of transactions will be less. Probably, there will be points of sale which will provide over 2,000 transactions a month with the average sum of payment equal to 200 dirham. You can see all these figures in your internet office. And the more franchises you have bought and have transferred to our company under the contract of the trust management, the better your quantitatively average income will be. The important element of the contracts with the Taunigma Company is the company's obligations for the return repayment of the Taunigma kiosk franchises from the owners that will provide the decrease of risk for the owners and will secure stopping their business anytime they want. The company gives such an opportunity, but will anybody want to use it if he or she gets really stable income, at least 50% a year? As it was mentioned earlier, one of the expenses included into the financial plan is a depreciation charge, and so the managing company will be in charge of maintaining the equipment in the appropriate working conditions during the whole term of the signed contract. Despite any breaking of the terminal or any other equipment spoilage, these expenses won't concern you as the owner of the franchise. Your kiosk always will be in proper working condition. Actually, we provide a lifelong guarantee. Taunigma is the long-term experience of the experts, multiplied by good market conditions and a well-thought-out model of relationships with businessmen, willing to have their own business and not willing to run it directly by themselves. We know the price of time and money.